Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Ben here from Instillment. Before I get into this video, if you could please hit that like button if you enjoy the video and subscribe for more content, we would greatly appreciate it. Now on to the video. I'm going to be quickly discussing shutter speed. So whether or not you are a new photographer or videographer that doesn't quite understand how your camera works and what everything means, or if you're not either of those things and you're just curious, shutter speed essentially is the amount of time that your shutter in the camera is open to allow light to hit either your sensor or your film if you're using a film camera. The quicker that shutter snaps and opens and then closes, the quicker light will hit that sensor. So essentially, if you have a high shutter speed, your shutter will open and close very fast, allowing only a little bit of light in, but capturing the image as true to real life in that moment as possible. Now, to give you an even greater example of that, say you're shooting sports. The higher the shutter speed, the more quickly something is captured. Now, please keep in mind, these are very, very basic terms, and I'm laying this out very, very simply. If you would like to see more of an in-depth scientific way of looking at shutter speed, let me know in the comments and I can get into even greater detail and more specifics, and it won't be as simplified of a definition as I'm giving now. So say I'm shooting a sports game. Am I going to shoot at a low shutter speed so my shutter is open for longer, allowing more information to come in? Or am I going to shoot at a higher shutter speed so that specific detail, say LeBron's about to take a shot, I want to get him as he releases the ball. Am I going to shoot at a high shutter speed to snap on that moment specifically? I'm going to shoot at a high shutter speed is what I'm trying to say. The higher the shutter speed, essentially the quicker you freeze that moment in time. If you shoot on a low shutter speed, the shutter is open for a longer amount of time, allowing more information in. Now that sounds good just straight out of the box. However, it is not good because the longer that shutter stays open, the more movement data your camera's capturing, and essentially you're just going to end up with like someone blurry. It'll just look like a blur going for a shot or a layup. However, if you do shoot at a lower shutter speed, the more light it is going to allow into your sensor. So your subject will be brighter and probably more well lit than that subject you're shooting at 1/500 or 1/1000. Now, speaking of those fractions are the speed at which your shutter is closing or the amount of time that your sensor or film is being exposed to light. The higher the number, so 1/500, 1/1000, the quicker that shutter is going to snap open and close. The lower the number, the slower it'll snap open and close. If I was standing as still as possible and the photographer had a low shutter speed and was on a tripod, I most likely would still be in focus and not blurry. Now, you won't have so much blurriness per se, even if you're doing a handheld type video, but the movements will have a lot of exaggerated motion blur, which for some people is actually a great look. The higher the shutter speed, the more defined movement will be, the less motion blur your subjects will have. So if you're shooting sports video, you would most likely crank that shutter speed to well over 1/300 and beyond. It's going to give you that really crisp movement of your subjects. And if you're shooting slow motion, it is even better to have your shutter speed cranked all the way up, because then when you slow down your footage, say you're shooting in 60 frames per second and then you throw it on a 24 frames per second timeline, when you slow that all the way down, if you have a low shutter speed, yes, it's going to be in slow motion, but everything is going to be soft. The movement is just going to look a little bit blurry, a little bit too motion blurred, but if you have that shutter speed cranked, it's going to be really, really defined and really, really high quality slow-mo. So if you enjoyed this brief little explanation of what shutter speed is, please hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. This has been Ben from Instillment, and thanks for tuning in.